Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we are going to be building a carousel with React. So the first thing we want to do is we want to create the React template. So we will do that by calling the React template syntax, which is npx create React app. And then we'll give it the name of the app we want to create. So that would be Carousel demo for this tutorial. And then we're just gonna wait for React to create that template for us. Oops, seems like an error. Apparently React doesn't take capital letters, so we're just gonna change that to or lowercase letters. So then we have carousel demo, and then we are gonna be creating the React framework again. And so we're just going to wait for all of that to be created. I just want to quickly mention there are several ways of creating a carousel, but I chose to use React framework for this demo. So you can use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or even use Next.js framework, depending on whatever you're comfortable with using. But for this tutorial, I will be using React framework. So we're still waiting for the template to be created. So we're just going to wait for it to install all the dependencies. And now it's been installed. So we are just going to cd into our carousel demo folder and then use npm start to actually start the web page in our local host. So basically, React gives you a framework that helps you build web-based applications. So it does come with some really good, helpful templates, and we are just gonna see how we can actually use that in this demo. And so basically now we're just starting the server, and it's going to start in our localhost 3000. So what you can see here is the React template. And when we go into our folder, we would see all of the files. So it does come with app.js. We are going to be working a lot in this file. So we just want to clean it up a bit. We want to take out the React logo and just sort of like make it nice and clean. However, we are going to be needing the app function. So we're just going to be taking out the logo. We do have, so we can see that on our web page that it's all taken out. And so we want to move into the public folder, and right there we are going to create another folder called the images. So basically the public folder is where we are going to store the images that we are going to be using for this carousel demo. So we're just going to go fetch that image data. So I go carousel, and we're just gonna copy those 5 images, and then just gonna drag and drop it into our images. So now we have all of our images, and that is stored in the public directory. Then the next step we're gonna do is we're gonna open a new create a new JavaScript file, and we're just going to call that carousel.js. For this carousel.js, we will be needing a model from npm. So we're just going to go to npm carousel to browse through that, and so we will need React responsive carousel model. So we're just going to go there and copy that, and then go to our terminal and paste that there. And we basically want to install that. Oops, there's something like an error, so we're just going to do that again. Carousel. I'll need to cd into carousel demo, and then we're going to paste our React responsive carousel model in there. So we're just going to let that install for a bit. So then we want to import React, and we're going to import React from React. Oops, not spelled right. So that would be React with a lowercase. So I just want to mention that we are creating this carousel as a component. So basically we're creating a component that we can utilize in our app.js. So we've imported React from React. We're just gonna create, the next thing we want to do is we want to create an array of images. So basically we've got all of our images already stored in our public folder. So we're just gonna use const data. We're gonna store it in a variable data. I'm going to create an array, and in that array we're gonna have both the name of the image and the image itself. So basically like where we stored the image, the parts we want to call the image from. So we're going to give that. So our image is stored in our images. So I'm just going to locate the actual part where it's stored and the name it was stored as well. So we're just going to have images, and of course we stored that as one and .jpg. Kind of spelled it wrong. Okay, so just gonna try that again. So that's images, and is store that as one, and just a JPEG as well. So because we knew that we have 5 images, so I'm just going to replicate that to save time. And what we want to move on to is that we actually want to export this function. So we're going to use the export default function, and this function, we're going to create a function called product carousel. So the reason why we're using the export default in React is so that we can also import this function in our app.js. You can decide to use the export default at the end of your file or at the beginning of your function, whichever you're comfortable with. So what we're going to do now is return. So we are utilizing Carousel. But we want to sort of like do some settings to the carousel. So basically we are going to set the autoplay interval, infinite loops, the show times, and of course the arrows as well. So we're just going to set show arrows, and we're going to set that to true. And then we are going to set autoplay because we want it to autoplay. And we're going to set that to true as well. And we want to set our interval. And we just set that to 3000. And then we want to set our infinite loop to true as well. And Finally, we are gonna set, well, we don't want the show time, so we'll just set that to false. So the next thing we want to do is we want to map our image data. We want to map that to our web page. So we're just going to use the map function, and so we're going to have data.map, and we're just going to give that demo. And we are also going to be indexing, and so we just give and then we have we also want to put our carousel in a div as well. So we just set the div key, and we can set that to the index. So what we want to also do is we want to give it a class name, and we want to use a styling called the carousel item styling. And then we want to actually put in create the image tag and use an object. So we would use the demo.image, and we can just use the alt, and we will use the object for that as well, use an object for that as well, call that demo.name. And we want to style the width and the height as well for our images. So we're just going to give it a width of 200. And we also want to style the height. So we want to give it a height of 800. So now we have created our carousel components that we can use for, that we can utilize in our app.js. So we can save this. Oh, we haven't imported Carousel. So the model we had installed, we also need to import that model. So just import Carousel from React. From React Responsive Carousel, correct. So the next thing we also want to import, we want to import a carousel styling as well that we are going to use to style. So we can just import that, and that is React Responsive Carousel library styles carousel .main.css. So now we have all of our models imported in our carousel component. So we can save this. We've got our function that we're going to be calling in our app.js, and we can then use this file in our app.js. So we are going to go into our app.js file, and we are going to be using an h1 tag, and we're just going to say something like carousel demo. So let's double check in our web page what we have. Oops, nothing. So we need to go back into our VS Code to check why that didn't display. So we have let's import React into app.js as well. So we have that imported. And then we're just gonna double check again. So the next thing we want to do is we want to check our index.js. So basically, our index file is where we would call in our app.js file. So this is literally what displays on our web page. So we're going to go back to our app.js file and just check again. So now we have our carousel demo displaying on our web page. So we've got our h1 tag displaying. So the next thing we want to do is add the carousel.js file component into our app.js component, which also our index.js component contains our app.js component. So we're just going to add that using our product.carousel function that we had created in our carousel.js file. And we're just going to give that a self-closing tag and refresh. And then we have our images. So the settings we had created for our carousel, which was the autoplay settings and the interval, all of that shows on our webpage. So what we've achieved for this tutorial is that we have successfully created a carousel using a React framework where we utilize 5 images, and we also utilize the React carousel model. I hope you've enjoyed this session. Thank you.